Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to actually create a form on your website, on your WordPress website, and then how to bring that information in from that form into Autotask. So we're going to create a ticket form. We're then going to use Zapier to pull that information out of the form on our website and create a ticket inside Autotask against the correct company. So let's go and take a look at how this works. So what we want to do, the very first thing we want to do is we want to get hold of a copy of any kind of form builder will work. I am using specifically Gravity Forms. I find that Gravity Forms is just the easiest to work with, but you can use any forms builder. Gravity Forms is a paid version of an WordPress plugin. So here you can see we've got the Pro license. You do need to get at least the Pro license because that gives you the ability to have the Zapier add-on. I'm not going to go through how to actually install the plugin, but once you get the plugin installed, the first thing you then need to do is go to the add-ons. And once you've gone into the add-ons, you have to go all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see, you'll see a little button on the add-on for Zapier that says install, like these ones do, and that will go ahead and install, and then you activate the plugin. So if you then look in your plugins section, you will see that you now have two plugins, which is the normal Gravity Forms as well as the Gravity Forms Zapier add-on. We do need to have both of these before we can go ahead and get this working. What will happen now is we're going to go ahead and create a new form. So all we do is simply hit new form, and let's call this, we've already got one called tickets, so let's call this tickets 1. And we create the blank form. So what this is going to allow us to do is to bring in our certain fields. So let's just bring in a single line of text. And what we're going to do on here is we're going to go ahead and click in here and maybe call this email address. And we do have to mark this as required because we do need them to enter their email address, because this is the field that we're going to use to look up who the user is and match them to an account within Autotask. So let's just do another one in here. Oops, let's just bring this into here. And then what we'll do in here is to call this one maybe subject. And again, the subject field in Autotask is required, so we do have to have them having that information in there. And then the last one we can bring in is paragraph text. And this is so that we can now do a description or something like that. So maybe we can do something like, you know, I don't know, whatever you want to put in there. This one does not have to be required, but as we're making them all required, I may as well make that required. Those are really the only three fields that we actually need to have on this form. So once we've got this working and we save the form, we can obviously then go ahead and preview this, and you can see that's how the form is going to display, and we know that we've got a ticket ID of 5. Okay, so we're going to come back to this in a little while, but while we're here, what I am going to do is just point out this add-ons, not the add-on section, sorry, under the settings section. You can see here we have Zapier, and this will tell you what you need to do to get Zapier working. So you need to enable the REST API and create a Gravity Forms API key. Then you need to create a form, and then you need to create the Zap. So on the REST API, we need to come back into here. You can see I've got a bunch of these already, but what I'm going to do is to create a new key, and I'm just going to call this tickets 2, for example. And here I'm going to use this as read write. I'm going to be presented at this point with a consumer key and a consumer secret. You can of course copy these if you want to of mine. Oops, but I will delete these after the demo, so copy away if you want to. And what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to just paste these into my notepad. So I'm just going to paste that one in there. And then I'm also going to just paste this security key, consumer secret. I'm going to paste that into my notepad as well, because we're going to need to come back to these in a few minutes. Right, so that's it. So we've created the form and we've created the API key, and of course we've enabled the REST API settings. Cool. The next thing we need to do is we need to go into Zapier. So again, Zapier does need to have a paid account. And the reason being is the free account only gives you the ability to have, one trigger or one condition. We need to have multiple conditions in order for this to work, multiple steps, as they call them within Zapier. So I use the starter pack for this, and that's more than sufficient. Not sure what the pricing is. We can have a quick look. It's going to be something along the lines of, there you go, £23 a month if you're in the UK, probably about $25, somewhere around there per user per month. Okay, let's go back to here. Sorry, I didn't want to go there. I wanted to actually come into here, and then I want to go into create, and I'm going to create a new Zap. So what we're going to do from here, the trigger that we need is going to be this Gravity Forms. So we're going to go into Gravity Forms, and we're going to say the trigger, what the event is on the trigger. So I'm just going to get rid of this. Yeah, go away. The event is when a form is submitted. So we've created the form, and we're going to say this is what is going to trigger Zapier to say when the form has been created. So we're going to go form submission, and now we're going to go and choose an account. So at this point, it's going to say, which Gravity Forms account do we need? You can go ahead and create a new account. And what this will do is this will ask you for your site URL, your consumer, and your secret that we created earlier on. But I'm going to actually use mine that I already have set up, which is my PSA consultant website. So I'm just going to use that. And then I'm going to hit continue. So now what it's saying to me is, what form do I want to use on this trigger? So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use that tickets form, which I think I called tickets 1. Yep. So I called that tickets 1. And then I'm just going to give it a unique name in here. So I'm just going to call this tickets 1. Okay. And then I'm just going to say continue. So now it tests the trigger, and you will see that this should pop up a box saying, yep, we found some entries on a, we've got some sample values in there. So I'm just going to say continue with the selected record. So the action that we now need to take once the form has been submitted, so we need to go into Autotask. And there's a couple of things we need to do at this point. So we go into the Autotask latest. So you always make sure you pick the latest one. And the event that we want to do in here is there's actually a few steps that we want to do at this point. And this is the reason you need the paid version of Zapier, because we're going to do multiple steps. And the first step that we're going to do is we're actually going to find a contact. Okay, so we're going to say we want to find a contact inside Autotask. So before we carry on as well, one of the things I should have mentioned is you need to create an API key inside Autotask. So to do that, you come into Autotask, go into account settings and users, and then go to resources and users, new API user. Then here you can just call this whatever you want, get all the information. The most important thing you need is to use this username, this password, and then here you need to pick integration vendor, and this needs to be Autotask, and I think there's an Autotask Zapier connector. So you need to use Autotask Zapier connector, and then you can make whatever application you want, something like that. Save and close this, and you are going to need to keep this and this aside, because what Zapier will allow you to do is, again, it's going to ask you which account you want to use. If you don't already have one set up, then it will give you the ability to actually create the API account in here. But I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to say continue. And now we want to find the contact. So which contact do we want to find? Well, we want to find it based on the email address that they've entered in that form we've just created. So what we want to do in here is under the contact information in Autotask, we want to find the email address based upon the entry that we put in here, which is email address. Okay. Now that is all we want to do, is we want to say, go and find a contact and use the email address that we typed into that form as the basis for finding that that contact. So now we can go test the step. And it said nothing could be found for the search. And this is basically because we don't have anything inside that form. So what we probably need to do at this point is we just need to come in and create a new page on our website. Let's just create a new page. And let's call this, let's just go into here and say add form. And the form we want to add is tickets 1. And we just insert the form and then publish. Of course, you're going to want to put this into, whatever page you want that kind of makes sense. And then we're just going to preview the changes. And what this will do is now it'll give us the form. So here I can put in, let's do this. And so once we do this and we hit submit, our form has been submitted. So now inside the Zapier, we are going to be able to go and run this test again. And what that should do is hopefully, don't know why it's erroring out. Let me skip the test on this for the time being. Let me test the step again. Nothing could be found in the search. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go back to here. And this time, what I'm going to actually do, and sometimes this does happen with Zapier, is I'm just going to say, again, I want to bring in the email address. I'm going to hit continue. Go back to action. I'm going to hit refresh fields. Let me go back to, let me go back to the form submission in here and go through the continue here, because now it will give me the ability to find a new record. There we go. So if I say find new record, I can now see here was the information that I found. Here's the help me now, and we have an actual valid email address. So now the next step should hopefully work, which it did, I think. Yes, a contact was sent to Autotask about 2 seconds ago. Okay, so sometimes that happens. So what I basically did is, because I couldn't find the contact because I hadn't already generated the form, so I probably should have done that right in the beginning. We have to go back in and run this step again so that this step finds that information on the form. And then once we have that information, we can just go ahead and say, yep, we know that all works fine. So just retest the step. And it should give me the ability to now publish this. So let's go out of here. I don't know why it's not allowing me to do anything else. You must fix the other issues. I don't know what other issues we have in here. Continue, continue, continue. Says there's issues in other steps. I'm not sure what those other issues in those steps are, but we'll just exit that for now. So we'll go find the contact in Autotask. And once we've found the contact, what we then want to do is we want to now have another step where we can also go back into Autotask use the latest. And the event that we want to do here is to create a ticket. Oh, that's ticked itself now, so I guess it's figured itself out. We want to go ahead and create a ticket. We want to use that same information we had before. Now it's asking us which company we would like to create this ticket for. So of course, in the step prior to this, we went and found the contact. So what we now want to do is we want to say, well, we want to use the company name from that previous step. So if we click on custom, we can say from here, where we found that company information, we should have somewhere in here company ID. So that is the company that we want to use to create the ticket. So let me just back here again. I used my Chris at Karen Properties. That step found that contact, and in the step that we're going to do here, it says, well, in that previous step, it found the contact. So here is the contact. You can see there he is, Chris Timm, and it's given us the company ID that contact, that email address that it found in this previous step. It's now given us the company details for that particular company. Now, the interesting thing here, this says company, and what they actually mean here is this has to be a company ID, not the name of the company. Okay. So what we now need to do is come in here and we can maybe say the description of the ticket is going to be whatever we entered into the form. So that's going to be in this form where we have description. And then we're also going to, in here, set a priority, and the priority is going to be low. Now we could have put priority onto the form as well and given the customer the ability to do that, but I'm just going to make it low. And you can see going through all of these fields, there are going to be certain ones that you have to fill in. So the status in here, I'm just going to make this new. We could select a ticket category if you wanted to as well. The title, so that is the required field, and we can pull that from whatever the customer has entered into that form. So now we can go ahead and find this form, and we can put the title, which I guess was going to be the subject, if you like. I think that might be all we need. Let me just go back and check status. Yep, that's fine. I think that is all we need. Okay, so now we can go continue. And we can test the step. So now you can see it's now going to go ahead and attempt to create a ticket. Okay, and a ticket was sent to Autotask about 2 seconds ago. And that is it. That is the 2 steps or the 3 steps that we basically need to be able to create a ticket based on that form. So let's go into here now. Go back to our WordPress site. Let's go and view this page again. So let's preview pages. Preview changes even. Here it is. So in here, let's do it again. So let's go Chris at Karen Properties. And now I can say, you know, and I simply click on submit. Now, all we need to do at this point is wait for the, wait for the Zap to trigger. And what I am going to do is just very quickly create, actually I don't need to do that. I can just look at any tickets that came in. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to create all tickets created today. So there you go. So I now have tickets created today for Karen Properties. And if I simply click on this, here is our ticket. Help me, please. I need some serious help. This is the one we just typed in. So you can see it's done that. It's also linked us to the correct company based on that email address. And it's put our description in there. It's put it into the right queue. It's put it into the right status. It's given us all the correct information that we need based on that form. So let's go through this again and see what we've done. So we're using Zapier in here to look at this gravity form. So we're saying, the gravity form is going to, the event is going to be a form submission. We're going to use the gravity form that's on this website, and we've used those API details to fill this form in. This is the form we're going to pull the information from. So what we can now do is, if we just hit edit Zap, and what this will do is, if we go through each of these steps individually just to show you what they do, just in case you've missed anything. So if we come into the gravity form submission, so you can see here we're looking at the event when the form has been submitted, i.e. I clicked on that submit button. So I clicked on the button here in the form that says submit there. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for that. And then if I continue this, and what it then does, if I say find new records, this will find that newest one that we've used. So here you can see we found that information. We then go into the next step where we go ahead and we find a contact. So we find it, and what are we looking for when we find it? That is based upon the email address that we entered in over here. So it's based on this field. So you can see the field name in here. It's got the little G sign in there. So we're pulling that in from Gravity Forms. And then simply all we're doing at this point is, so we just continue this. And then the last step that we're doing is we're actually now going ahead and creating the ticket. And if we look at the action, we're creating it based on a company that we found in this step. So when we find the email address and we know what that email address is, if we go back to this previous step, just to show you actually, if I go find contact in Autotask, and I'm just going to continue this, so if I go refresh fields, what this is basically doing is it's saying in this step where I found the email address, so if I continue this, now you can see here is all of the information that it's found when it's looked for that email address. So it's found the email address of chris@karenproperties.com, and you can see it's found the first name, the last name, and somewhere down here we're going to have the company ID. So it knows who that person is by doing that find step in Zapier. And then all it's going to do now is create the ticket based upon the information that we found. So we're going to create the ticket, and we're going to use the company ID that we found in this step. I'm going to put that into there, and we're going to fill in all the bits and pieces on here. And that's it. That is it. It really is that simple. What we can now do is to go ahead and just say, this is going to be Gravity Forms to Autotask. We simply publish that, give it a version number, and we're good to go. Now, there's so many uses for this. This is how you can create a ticket, but I have it on my website personally that instead of it creating a ticket, I have it actually going in and creating an opportunity. So from my Contact Us form, I have it, then creating it as an opportunity within Autotask, and it then, first it creates the company, it then creates the contact, it then creates the opportunity, and then it also creates a ticket based on all of that. So that will be something I will be going through in much more detail, but this is just a very simple way to show you how to get information from your WordPress website into Autotask using this ticket form. So I hope that's helped. If you find these videos useful, I really would appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you get notified of any more videos that I do. And if there's any kind of particular video that you wanted to see, I would really appreciate it if you let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.